Welcome to the launch of SME Growth Drive. I now request Mr. Sandeep Khosla, Director General, Bombay Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to open with the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, Tarini. A warm welcome to everyone who joined us, taken time out of the busy schedule and joined us today. The Bombay Chamber, as a lot of you would know, is the oldest chamber in India. We are a 186-year-old chamber, formed way back in 1836 by 7 Parsi gentlemen and some Britishers. And from that day onwards, Bombay Chamber has been instrumental in the growth of the industry and commerce throughout the country. So our companies, which then were small, have today grown on to become some of the largest companies in the world. We were also instrumental in setting up the railways in India and the postal system. So these are two of the big ones we did. Of course, in the recent times, it was the Kalagoda festival, which the Bombay Chamber was instrumental in. Today, we liaise on with almost everyone, between trade, industry, between the government, the regulators, SEBI, RBI. And for the last 30 odd years, the BCCI has been instrumental in looking at hand-holding of MSMEs. So larger members have come forward and ensure that at every point of time, we look at how an MSME can be nurtured and they ensure that the growth is something which Bombay Chamber plays a part in. And towards that, the MSME committee of Bombay Chamber, under the leadership of our chairman, Mr. Raje, has tied up with Wadhwani Foundation to see as to how can BCCI contribute, how can BCCI, with its various committees, various bigger members, get into a concrete program which will help MSME. So with that, I'll hand it over to our chairman, Raje, to take this forward.
Hello everyone, a very good evening to all my fellow colleagues and SME members of BCCI. It is a pleasure to welcome you all at the launch of Polyclinic for MSME today. BCCI and Wadhwani Foundation have joined hands to run a polyclinic for the MSME sector. This polyclinic is designed to provide a credible service support to strengthen the MSMEs in various areas like finance, resources, marketing, technology, innovations, and many more. As we all know, MSME is a backbone of Indian economy. We all know the figure, but still 63.4 million units across India, 24.6% share in services of GDP, 33% share in manufacturing output GDP. MSME employs about 120 million people, 45% share in overall exports, and a growth rate about 10%. But during the last few years, there have been challenges for MSMEs. First, to me, was demonetization, because we all know that MSME had the advantage of doing a cash business, and as a result of that advantage of lesser excise impact. Then came the GST. Again, the advantage of excise or a preferential excise was evaporated. Then came COVID. So to offer a right product, right consistent quality, right price, right time delivery became very, very challenging. Then apart from this, there are other challenges the MSME is facing. By the way, I am a MSME stakeholder myself, so I can authoritatively talk about the pain points and the challenges, and I can also authoritatively understand or probably endorse the initiative taken by BCCI. So the other challenges are stress working capital, the biggest pain point, possible labor shortage, another pain point, stress supply chain, delayed payments. We all know this is a reality, no matter what others say, but this is a reality. Inability to attract right talent for the growth. Again, a genuine problem. Inability to offer social security to employees. Again, because of the size and the turnover. Uncertainty of survival, the outcome of all this, and fear of existence. So I'm sure all of us have been facing this situation directly or indirectly. So what is the need of the hour? The need of the hour is honestly do an introspection and modify the business strategy, give unique products and services, create IP. I know it is very difficult to understand what is IP, but intellectual property. In other words, the innovation. Use new marketing avenues. That again is a big challenge for MSME, because typically MSME is one person or one man companies. They are typically started by the technocrats. As a result of that, the overall 360 understanding of the business probably is missing. I'm not saying it is missing every time, but most of the time it is missing. Change the organizational culture. Typically a one-man show, the old ideas, the old methods of working. Digitization, which is another challenge most of the MSMEs are facing, because as I said, they are one man, one operation person, one person operations, and training human resources. What is the way ahead? Obviously, I mean, it is very easy to talk about this, but manage finance, manage human resource, manage space, modernize the technology, innovate, discipline overall the business model, be ready for mergers, collaborations, exits, whatever it is. Contribute to make India a global manufacturing hub in totality. This is what it is. And because of all these challenges, because of all these realizations, a need of a support, a credible support began at our level, at the level of BCCI. For last 1 or 2 years, or maybe 2.5 years, we all have been toiling with this idea. I mean, we knew that such kind of support system, or as one of the ex-board members who came with the concept, so he conceptualized the idea of this polyclinic. I mean, that is his word, or that is his one suggestion which came up. And once that came up, Anjali, who was the chairman till last month or a few months, so she pushed us, that all of us understood that yes, this is required. I mean, as BCCI, we have almost 2,000 MSME members, which are our members, and though they are really waiting for this kind of support, we were unable to give this support, because it is very easy to conceptualize that yes, this kind of support is required and we should do this. Many of our board members or many of our members, they themselves are into a consultation, that they have been giving the support to the MSMEs, but there was no formal structure which could really offer this kind of a support. And hence came the idea of joining hands with Wadhwani Foundation and offer the credible support to MSMEs. So this polyclinic is designed to give credible support, as I said, to MSME, because we all know that there are plenty of consultants available, but their credibility, their real delivery is a big question mark. And as a result of that, with paucity of the funds or resources, if an MSME lands into a wrong hands, God save them. So the entry of Wadhwani Foundation came into existence. Wadhwani Foundation, as you will see, they are already supporting the MSME segment in India as well as in Latin American region. It is a no-profit organization with the whole noble cause of creating more jobs or creating the jobs through MSME is their mandate. So we saw a lot of synergy in our need and their delivery. And that is how, after quite a few meetings, the MSME committee and Bombay Chamber of Commerce decided to join hands with Wadhwani Foundation. So today you will see, today we are formally going to launch this polyclinic. So, Wadhwani Foundation, which is headed by Samir Sathe in India or probably globally, I really don't know, but he is the one who will give you an idea what this polyclinic is all about, how this polyclinic is going to support the MSME, how they are going to do the hand holding, how they are going to really see that the MSME who is hungry for the growth or who is willing to adopt the changes can benefit immensely. I mean, their mandate is 2x to 10x. And that is what I can tell you as an MSME stakeholder myself, though they did not do the hand holding for us, but there are 2 or 3 other consulting firms who we are using for last 3 years. And we have grown every year 50%. Even during the COVID period, when the others were struggling for cash, they were struggling for the orders, they're struggling for the products, we could do that. And that credit entirely goes to the support system or our team of consultants. And that gives me the immense confidence that this polyclinic or the polyclinic run by Wadhwani Foundation and BCCI together will most certainly benefit you. So please be open, be ready, and take the support of this polyclinic.
My name is Sanjay Shah and I play the role of the Chief Operating Officer at Wadhwani Foundation. I'm based out of Bangalore, and while we are in 20 different countries, my current focus really is running 2 of the largest initiatives, Wadhwani Advantage and Wadhwani Entrepreneur, in India, Southeast Asia and Africa. We of course have a lot running in LATAM also, like Mr. Raje said, but my focus is currently in India, Southeast Asia and Africa. A big thank you to BCCI, its board and its members for having given us an opportunity to talk about what we do at the foundation to make a difference in the lives of the SMEs. Now at a very broad level, thanks for opening up the presentation. At a very broad level, the mission of the foundation is to accelerate economic development in emerging economies through large-scale family-sustaining jobs. And how do we really do this? We do this by creating jobs through entrepreneurship, innovation, and skills development, by changing lives through upskilling individuals to command family-sustaining wages, and of course by scaling impact through technology, networks, and partnerships globally. Now, like I said earlier, while we run several initiatives all over the world, today's session will be primarily focused on talking about Wadhwani Advantage program, and which is all about SMEs, and how we empower thousands of small and medium-sized businesses with capabilities to maximize their growth potential. Now, my colleague Samir Sathe, who Mr. Raje introduced, he's the EVP of the Wadhwani Advantage program, and we'll really talk to you about this in detail later today. In the meantime, what I wanted to sort of take up a couple minutes on is to sort of talk about some of the other initiatives that we also actually are aggressively leaning towards. And I'll take you through them very briefly. The first one, of course, is Wadhwani Global Opportunity. Here we empower millions of students with core and future job-ready skills to attain sustainable family wages. Today, we are already skilling more than 140,000 students. Perhaps this year we'll end up doing about 200,000 students and professionals in India alone. And this is for India alone numbers, to help bridge the gap that exists between what students learn in schools and colleges and what the industry really requires. The second program that we have is Wadhwani Entrepreneur. This program was popularly known as NEN, or National Entrepreneurship Network, which has now been christened as Wadhwani Entrepreneur, or WE. What WE does is it inspires, educates, and enables tens of thousands of startup entrepreneurs. And here again, we are working with close to 40,000 students in India alone through a very structured program to imbibe the culture of entrepreneurship in them and to help startups in their journey to growth and funding. Very similar to what we do for SMEs, we also do for the startup world. The third one, which is mentioned on this slide, is of course, Wadhwani Advantage, but I won't talk about that. The next one is Wadhwani Institute of Technology and Policy, popularly known as WITP, an initiative that we recently started about a couple years back. Here we help the government by leveraging emerging technologies and certain deep technologies for well-informed policy formulation, implementation, and outcomes and impact measurement. And finally, another initiative that we are about to launch and start is the Digital Public Health Institute, and which is also known as Wadhwani Institute for Digital Public Health. This is currently based out of the US, but it is a global platform for enabling digital transformation of public health organizations and programs to advance their speed, scale, impact to improve the lives of hundreds of millions. Now, all of these initiatives, of course, ride on top of a state-of-the-art technology platform that essentially automates these programs to drive them to scale.
Hi everyone, all the SMEs especially who have gathered to sort of listen to us and see what is it that we have to offer. And I'm very excited basically to launch this initiative, what we call SME Growth Drive. And Rajan mentioned at the start that we want to run the clinic. And we have termed it as Growth Drive because there are two things needed, growth and tremendous drive. So we just coined these two words and said that this is what you need. This is the need of the hour. And Raje explained some of the problems that all of you go through on a daily basis. And we thought this is a fantastic initiative basically to help you to overcome your current problems, and not only that, but plan for the long term. It's not just about solving the short term, but making sure that you plan for the long term. Our whole focus is that you take advantage of the Advantage program, and I'm going to talk about what this Advantage program is all about, and grow 2x to 10x, because gone are the days when, if you look at the evidence of SMEs across India, 70 million SMEs based on the last estimate, you would know that most of the organizations and SMEs, you are all experiencing it, the first generation, second generation, third generation, are dealing with the revenue CAGRs and growth of not more than 10%, 15% annually for the last 50, 60 years. If that is the state that is likely to continue, it's impossible to think that the small will become mid and mid will become large and micro will become small. Our whole purpose of this initiative is to convert micro to small, small to mid, and mid to large, right? So therefore you see the tagline 2x to 10x out there. So I'm going to cover very quickly who we are, what is the collaboration, and I won't spend too much time on that because Raje mentioned about this. What is the impact that we have created on the SMEs that we have served, so that you get an idea of how it's going to work. We will briefly talk about program objective and the structure in terms of how exactly your journey is going to be, what is your advantage, and finally we'll look at in terms of call to action of what are the next steps post this. So everything that we are dealing with India, let me just share some facts, and this will throw some light in terms of the context that we are talking about. India has 70 million MSMEs, right? Globally, there are about 49 definitions of SMEs, but now we are all converging in India in terms of what we are talking about, right? 5 to 50 crores, 50 to 250 crores, and then you have different revenue sizes. But if you study the population of India, what you would witness is that out of this 70 million SMEs, MSMEs, 98.5% are actually below a very, very suboptimal threshold revenue size. They're below 1 crore, etc. There are only 23,000 organizations who have got paid up capital of more than 10 crores. There are basically, you're dealing with a very long tail of micro enterprises. And the other double whammy is that about 80% of them are actually not realizing their true potential, which means you are carrying a capacity of a sick or sort of underutilized or suboptimal SMEs. Now, as you know, in healthcare, if the hospitals carry a lot of sick patients, basically it doesn't benefit anybody. And India is carrying actually a lot of the organizations which are not necessarily progressing very fast. So we can't afford to have that situation. If you look at and we did that study, you see that on slide and I've summarized it. We did a study of all the organizations between 2018 and 2022 based on about, let's say, 220 organizations that we served. And I'm going to talk about how many organizations we served in what capacity in a while. We also did a study of this 4 years of performance during COVID, post-COVID. Rajan earlier mentioned that he benefited tremendously even during the COVID, that he grew at 50%, him being MSME itself. Obviously, there are some interesting steps or pragmatic steps that they must have taken, right? So what are those learnings? And we studied those 2,350 companies. We also looked at our own experience. And we also looked at a data set of about 2,100 companies from the Dun & Bradstreet study. And based on that, we arrived at certain learnings. So I want to share that very quickly because that is the context in which we want to help you, right? Now, there are two kinds of problems. One is the growth-related problems, and second is really the efficiency one. The problem is that because of the efficiency-related problems, you have growth-related problems. A lot of the SMEs, and you know this better than I do because you are experiencing daily, that there are problems, there are commitments that you want to make to suppliers, there are cash flow issues that you want to deal with, there are labor issues you want to deal with, there are some underutilization of the plant capacity, there are working capital issues, there is an issue in terms of the wallet share that you have with the customer, there is a customer churn, there is a talent churn, and you can see some of those problems that you are encountering on a daily basis. As a result of which, most of your time is going in firefighting, right? I mean, one of the articles I've stated in the Economic Times is that what do firefighters do versus the value creators, right? And there is a lot of value discovery that needs to be done. That is, the efficiency-related issues are unable to free up your time to focus on the long term. You see the causality out there, and therefore, all your growth-related problems are basically turns into a vicious circle. You have operational issues, you have talent issues, you have finance issues, where because of which you are unable to free up your time to think about a long term, and then you get caught in that cycle, as a result of which you would have suboptimal growth rates, both on the top line as well as the profit lines. So that's really the summary that we learned in analyzing all these companies. Now, given in the interest of time, I will not be able to share everything, but post this section, Rajanji, I want to share that entire analysis with all the members, so that they can benefit and go through it in detail. And in this context, I think we, between BCCI and us, we were very clear that ultimately, if you want to survive, you need to grow faster. And it's like a bicycle. I mean, if you don't ride it ahead, you will collapse, right? So it's not just about staying on the bicycle, you need to run it. And this is exactly what we want to do it. We want to run you at a faster pace. We want to make you grow at a faster pace. So that's the context. So we have taken very clearly a view that we are going to make sure that together we bring the best to you. Now, what is the best to you, right? BCCI has certain capabilities in terms of 22 committees. We have capabilities in terms of certain aspects. And I'm going to talk about very quickly about that. Now, the idea about this SME Growth Drive is to synergize what BCCI has and what we have. So we are going to become the delivery partner of the SME Growth Drive initiative that Rajan spoke about. BCCI will answer that. And from our perspective, we want to make available to you knowledge. We want to make available to you the network of advisors. We want to make sure that you are handheld. It's just not about interesting PowerPoint slides, insights, and intellect. Because at the end of the day, handholding and implementation is what counts. And this is where this program is differentiated. You will not only get Gyan, you will not only get insights, but you will get handholding support. And that's the PMO support that we are talking about. And which is why, if you really were to summarize thematically 3 kinds of problems, there are knowledge deficits, there are talent deficits, and there are money deficits, right? As Wadhwani Advantage, we want to solve all these 3 things. And I'll come to that in a while. Now, who are we to talk about? Do we have the right experience? Do we have the right credentials when we think about joining hands with BCCI? So I want to dwell 4 or 5 minutes on what we have done in the past so that you understand that what we are talking about is coming from the experience. So very quickly, personally, I have had 30 years of experience in dealing with about 400 organizations in my last 30 years of career in India, in the US and the other geographies. And also when I came to the foundation almost 4 years ago, it was with an intent to make a systemic impact on the ecosystem, because it's not really useful to really look at making difference to a few. It's important to make a difference to millions, right? And that's only when India will grow. And as an organization of Wadhwani Advantage, you can see on the screen that between India and LATAM, we have helped 1,000 organizations. In India, about 400 and 500 alone. We have been able to deliver net promoter score of 73. For those of you who are familiar with this term of net promoter score, which is basically a CSAT indicator of whether your customers are going to recommend you to your other customers or not. And we have been able to deliver that 73. Global growth standard is about 50. We have solved 70 different types of problems. We have been able to make sure that our clients outperform their peers by 200 to 800 basis points in revenue growth and 100 to 300 basis points in profit growth between 2020 and 2022, which basically combines the period before COVID, during COVID, and post-COVID, right? And this is an indication of why the SMEs are benefiting. We have been able to help the SMEs across 25 industries, across 50 locations,
And we have been able to build a curated network of 260 advisors, consultants speaking your language. Because at the end of the day, your context, your issue is very personalized. If you are based in Mumbai, if you are based in Delhi versus you are based in Guwahati versus you are based in Tamil Nadu, your problems are very specific to you. You can't generalize it, right? So we realize that, and we want to make it a personalized experience. And which is why it's important that we bring to you the learnings of our experience globally, but we contextualize locally. And that's what we want to do. We have also been able to build a massive IP, intellectual property, that Rajan talked about, because it's consulting. I mean, I come from the same fraternity and I know what you think about consultants. They give fantastic presentations and go away. Nobody implements it. They just give yarn. And we wanted to break away from that. And we want to make sure that we handhold you. And therefore, we have built an IP which will help you to learn, which will make you build capabilities, because our objective is just not to diagnose and implement, but make you learn how you can solve problems better. So we have built a massive IP of over 60 tools in discovery, diagnostics, and transformation. We have built thousands of assets and videos, articles, masterclasses, case studies that you can avail of. And with the result of our 30 odd partners, we are able to reach out to all of you across India. I think the good news is that we have a great staff in us in terms of the consultants who are capable to leverage their experience. So what we are talking about is a 300 human years of collective experience that comes to your benefit. And therefore, we are in a position to confidently help you. I think that's where I think we come to rescue you from where your current situation is. And our endeavor is all you members who sign up for this program, basically treat this event, this launch, just as a starting point. This is not a webinar. This is a starting point of our association, which is going to continue for years together. So that's where we stand. Now, in terms of the structure, we are going to follow a very simple structure. Every good initiative requires a strong leadership. Every good initiative requires a strong governance. And we need to bring to you three aspects. We need to bring you content, which is knowledge. We need to bring to you the network of advisors, because these are the people who are going to help you and implement it. And we want to bring to you the power of technology, the community platform, which I will talk about in a while little later. And at the end of the day, when you think about this, we want to structure this program in what we call a clinic, in a typical cafe-like situation. Now imagine that every day in a week, we take up certain problem areas, certain types of SMEs, and all of you are free to sort of book your time schedules with us, with our team out here who is going to do the PMO. And we will run that cafe to solve your specific problems in growth, efficiency, talent, and technology. Right? Now, on the right-hand side of the slide, you will see the colored out there, which is, and the headline says that your transformation roadmap. Just focus on the right there. So there are two tracks out there. If you are an SME which is smaller in the size, let's say below 75 crores, and if you are an SME which is larger than 75 crores, which is 75 crores and above, we have two tracks. And we call them DIY, which is do-it-yourself track for smaller organizations. And we call it focus track, which is the organizations for the above 75 crores. Now I'll come in a while. I'll explain to you what this all means. So if you are a smaller company, and then between BCCI and us, we decided that we want to give you a pro bono support, because you do not have discretionary money to pay the fees of the consultants. So we said, let's give a pro bono online diagnostic test to prioritize your transformation charters. You are dealing with 1,000 problems on a daily basis. How do you know which problems is going to give you the maximum benefit earliest? So we said we'll give that. We have also developed an IP of 60 tools, so we are going to train you on that. We are going to follow that with a 15-hour consultation completely pro bono based on our own experts, committees of the BCCI and the curated advisors, so that we are able to handhold you in not only diagnosing, but also transforming and making you learn how to solve your own problems. We also have got a tremendous training that is going to come to you, and which is both pro bono and chargeable, based on the master classes, the courses, which are going to be run on our community platform. So on basically your training, your learning will go hand in hand in terms of implementation and solving your problems, right? And these sessions are going to be held by experts, domain experts. If you are a larger company, focus track SMEs, as you can see on the track, we have decided to give you pro bono support of 100 hours. Pro bono support, which basically extends over a year in terms of making sure that everything that we give, whether with respect to the recommendations or the transformation help, is actually implemented on the ground. And that's the implementation support that we want to give through this PMO support by the advisors that we have on board, right? We have not only done that, but we decided to solve your money problem also So if you are a little larger company, about 75 crores, we have decided to give you subsidy in fees that you might incur on the advisors. Because it's important to incentivize us to hire an expert. Rajan ji just mentioned at the start that he was able to get the help of hiring an expert, right? Or hiring a consultant. Now, it may happen that you may have certain cash to be paid as a fee to the consultant, but you may not have all the cash. So we decided that we're going to help you with that as well. So it's about knowledge, it's about time, it's about handholding support, it's also about money. So for the little larger SMEs who might incur fees on the consultants, we have decided to give you subsidy. And finally, we have a community platform which is meant for all of you, whether you're a small or a large. And I'll talk about in a while what this community platform is all about, which is the next session. And I'll explain to you what we're going to offer in that community platform, because that platform will allow you to make sure that you conduct your own events, masterclasses, case studies, dealing and interacting with your ecosystem, whether it is your channels, your advisors and large corporates, etc. And finally, the analytics and engagement that you do in terms of implementation. So that's in a nutshell your advantage. Now, how is going to happen in terms of your journey? So today we are launching this program, right? Today, September 14th, we are launching this. As you can see on the screen, which is on the left-hand side, we are going to select certain SMEs based on 3 criteria. And this is important. We are going to help all of you, but we would like all of you to have hunger for growth. We would like all of you to make sure that you professionalize your setup and you commit yourself on time and data. And we want to make sure that there is an impact attribution to SME Growth Drive initiative. Now, if you were to look at all this program, all of you, 1,700, 2,000 members that we have, we want all of you to take up this and focus on the transformation goals of revenue, EBITDA, and talent. These are the 3 most important ingredients that we want to focus on. And finally, we want to run this entire initiative in terms of the pilot, which will run from October 2022 to March 2023. So between September now and October, we will have repeated sessions with you one-on-one to make sure that your queries are resolved and you sign up for this program. And in October, we'll begin the implementation of the pilot to solve these kinds of problems, right? The format of this entire SME Growth Drive initiative is going to be threefold. There's going to be knowledge sessions, masterclasses. There's going to be weekly cafe. There is going to be walk-ins, as well as we will come to you once you sign up for the program. And then we will solve these specific problems going ahead. So that's going to be our journey. Once we look at learnings from the pilot, we will then scale it up significantly to solving all your members' problems across. This is a dense slide, so I'll very quickly summarize who is going to play what role. You already know BCCI, you are the member. They are going to evangelize this program across all of you. We are there with you to solve all your queries. So we are going to look at basically BCCI evangelizing the program with all of you. We are going to be the delivery partners, implement the program pilot. We are going to work with you closely to bring to you knowledge, money, and access to the advisors and the community platform. Your role is to allocate time for the PMO cadence that we're going to have, steering committee meetings that we're going to have, sharing data, and making sure that you commit yourselves to professionalize your organization. You're going to have quarterly check-ins, daily check-ins, and weekly check-ins as required to make a difference to your story and your outcomes, right? Finally, we'll have a feedback loop to capture from there. And at the end of the day, there is going to be a third-party impact agency which is going to look at what outcomes we have delivered to you, because at the end of the day, you need to benefit from the outcomes, just not about the Gyan and sessions, right? So that's exactly what we're going to do. So to end this session, basically, I think, we'll be very happy to answer your questions as far as this is concerned before I talk about community platform, which is the next session. But if you have any doubts, any sort of questions, happy to answer now, or if you can write to us basically, and we can devise a mechanism whereby we will have the individual sessions. So we are going to share the calendar with you. You can book slots with us to solve your queries and questions. Once you sign up for the program, we are going to answer all your questions, which could be very specific to our organizations. So today's idea was to give you an overview, and we are going to follow it up with detailed sessions with all of you to be able to look at taking your journey ahead. This is just the starting point, as I mentioned earlier. So that's it for as far as this program overview is concerned. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. Take advantage and grow 2x to 10x.
Just for the benefit of everyone, we have Mr. Mihir Bharkamkar from ATC Global. He is the director, and he's been part of our program and the company for the last 2 years. And he would like to share his experiences, so you can get a live first-hand experience of what this program is about. Please go ahead, Mihir.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So our interaction with Wadhwani started because of Amtoy. So they interacted similarly with the logistics body. So it started in 2020, but due to COVID, there was a gap And then in 2021, our discussion started again. So there were a couple of changes that our industry were going through. So one of the key aspects was the discovery program that we ran through. We got a lot of insights about our financial ratios as well as certain parameters of management that were there. So that's based on that, we started identifying our goals. We started identifying the challenges that we had. And one of the key challenges that we identified and what we have started working in the last 6 months aggressively on was transitioning from a knowledge-driven organization where sales as a industry came from your knowledge. And last 65 years of our existence in this industry, we've always acquired customers based on knowledge, was to shift to a sales-driven organization. Over the last 4 or 5 years, the competitors or equal similar companies, Indian and multinationals coming in, has grown from 5,000 to 15,000. And that additionally created a requirement for sales. So the first project that we took over was sales. So in that, I think we were introduced with a panel of consultants. We interacted with multiple people, and then we finally narrowed down one. And then started our process, mapping the structural change, identifying an internal core team, identifying the core set of customers, who are your customers, the setting up the review processes. So today we have reached a stage where all our branches, we have 26 branches across India, and we cover all the major airports and seaports. So all our branches know exactly whom to count, whom to approach, what the sales structure should be. Each one has a sales briefcase. So that was a very that was a process which all of us were confused as an organization how to improve, because as a B2B organization, my strength was I knew that for this engineering product, this is how duty benefits are there and this notification has to apply. That's how I sold to the customer also. So having this structured way, we have started seeing good amount of customers come in. And now we are going to start working on a couple of projects regarding human resource management and digitization about going online. So this has been our journey as of now. I think at least these 3 projects I see is something that we will successfully do, and hopefully more in the future.
This is wonderful forum to be, talking about what Wadhwani and AceNet has achieved together. Before I go further, just want to quickly take a few seconds talking about myself. So I have almost 25 years of experience across business, management consulting and technology consulting. I'm alumni of IIM Ahmedabad and NIT Surat. I'm the founder of the firm AceNet. We do very closely work with SMEs and startups on the business transformation and the problem areas, and also the fundraising. Specifically with Wadhwani Foundation, I think over the last couple of years, we have worked with different industries. I can name a few like pharma, shipping, fresh farm dairy, and other areas. Very interestingly, I think most of the SMEs that we realized, they face, few very common problems. I mean, as we just heard, working capital is one of the biggest issues for most of the SMEs. I think that's relatively common. What we also realized that I think a lot of SMEs have issues in having right access to the advisors who can help them look through the problems through a different set of eyes. I think what we believe, there is a huge opportunity within the SME sector. We aren't talking about, taking drastic steps here. I think even some small steps can bring a huge change within the operations, within the financials, within the growth. We looked through that. I can give an example of one of the pharma companies. They were trying to, sell some of their medicines, some of their products, but they didn't really have the right sales strategy. They also did not know whether each of the salesperson was doing enough to cover his own cost. So I think some of these things are missing because many of the SMEs do not really use the technology as efficiently to study the opportunities, to look through the sales opportunities, to understand their operations and all. So technology is second area which can really bring a huge change within SME operations and growth. In addition, I think most of the SMEs don't necessarily think of their marketing. They're brand positioning and such things. Of course, I think when we are relatively small, we work through our relations, we work through our context. But over a period, as you grow, you need to have a very unique brand identity, and that is something which comes only when you speak with somebody who understands it better. So I think those are the few areas which we believe are hugely successful. We have had major gains. We have improved sales results for some of the companies. We have been able to help, and this is all through Wadhwani Foundation. So we have actually helped companies look through the sales incentive processes. We have looked through the brand positioning, brand reorganization. We have helped companies in structuring their overall fundraising approach. Right from thinking through the business models, the financial models. We have connected many of these companies to the VCs or the PEs for the fundraise. Even the debt, capital, we have been introducing them to some of the banks, etc. So these are the few areas that we have really had some significant advisory. We have been helping companies looking through the new sales opportunities. By introducing newer products, by looking through existing products, doing the pricing strategy for the products, looking at new service lines, both domestic as well as international. So I think this pretty much covers a vast spectrum. Samir has given 2 minutes. I don't really want you to cross that. So I think this gives you an idea, I think, how we make an impact along with the help of Wadhwani Foundation. We do use a lot of discovery reports that come from the initial study the Wadhwani team does, and we have been using their tools and other processes to investigate further and give recommendations to the SMEs, which have very significant impact. So thank you. I think thanks again. I'm happy to take any questions, but otherwise, Samir and everyone sitting in the room, I think do appreciate you providing time to me to speak on this. Thanks a lot.